Please rise, if you wish, for the invocation and the pledge. Dear God, this is the final meeting of a successful year for our city. We give thanks for being able to buy Alexander Island, for the sale of land for Phase 1 of Main Street, for the extraordinary efforts of our dedicated staff to meet our residents' needs and move our city forward, for the cohesive vision of this council, and the confidence expressed by the voters last year that this council is on the right path. And we are thankful for so much more. We have been blessed. As we look forward, we are grateful for the plans and the funding to pursue 4 major projects that are needed and timely. While we implement these, help us to meet the everyday responsibilities for our community services and to rise to address the likely unexpected challenges to come. As we consider the matters before us this evening, grant us wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, that we may make the best decisions for those who have entrusted us to represent them. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. City Clerk, would you do the roll call, please?
Councilmember Sell.
Here.
Councilmember Papalardo.
Here.
Councilmember Stevenson.
Here.
Mayor Chazet.
Here.
Vice Mayor Butlin.
Here. Okay, this is the special City Council meeting for the month of September. And so I would ask if there are any deletions or amendments to the agenda. Hearing none, we will move on to presentations. This evening, we are pleased to have, is it Jay Strother, the principal of High Banks Learning Center, with us to approach the podium and tell us some things about High Banks Learning Center. Most of you will recognize this is the school on East High Banks, close to Enterprise.
Thank you, and good evening. My name is Jay Strother. I'm the principal of High Banks Learning Center. We now have a second location as well, located on the campus of Deltona Middle School. This is Dr. Sean Smith, teacher, business partner, liaison, and personal friend, who has done so much work as a representative of High Banks. I'm just going to read a little snippet for a second, and then we'll talk about some of the great things that we do. On the west side of Volusia County is an alternative educational site, assisting students with making milestones. High Banks Learning Center is a hidden gem. Our vision is to build relationships and change lives, and we do this every day. Students are often assigned to High Banks because they have made a bad choice or a bad decision or been a member of a bad group of friends. But coming to High Banks Learning Center introduces our students to mental health resources, inspirational motivation, while teaching them to have strong work ethic and celebrate their successes both academically and behaviorally. We believe that positive student relationships are the fundamental to success in and out of our classrooms. When students feel supported, they are more likely to engage in learning and have better academic outcomes. In addition, when our students have positive interactions with their teachers, staff, and adults around our campus, they have fewer behavioral incidences. In this session, participants will, I just copied and pasted some of that. So with High Banks, kids get assigned to us through whether it's the district student placement or through an IEP meeting, and they come to us for a length of time that could be anywhere from 4 weeks to a full year, depending on what they did. And while they're with us, if they're involved in the courts, Dr. Smith works with them on community service hours. We fundraise, and we go to business partners to try to earn money because we're not funded the same way a traditional school setting is funded. So when we need incentives for both our teachers and our students, we have to come up with that money somehow. So it's creative funding. We've done, I've done a Mega Blast where it's a direct donation. We just recently had a very successful fundraiser with Do Not Tell, Do Not Ask, which is a small business located here in DeBary, where we successfully raised $620 that they 100% donated back to the students. During that fundraiser, there was $80 in tips made. So the students that made that worked that event made the tip money. They donated the tip money back into instead of donating it to the school, we all donated it back to the students. Matter of fact, two of the students, when this business grows a little bit more, two of our students are being offered jobs. So what we try to do on a daily basis with our students is teach them that their bad choices do not define who they are in the future. And we do this every day. And it starts with what we bring into the building, how we address the kids, how our building looks. When I started there a year and a half ago, and I'm not about to stand here and take any of the credit. It takes a team to do what we've done, but our building looked like a prison. If you rolled down East High Banks Road, what you saw was a beat-up building with an iron rod fence around it and no character. If you drive by High Banks Learning Center now, if you haven't, please do. The building colors have changed. There's sponsorship banners out front. We've got a new sign. We've redone the letters. Our students, although they're still gated because that's safety and security, you don't see them running around. You don't see them trying to leave the campus. You don't see them cussing everybody out front. The kids just don't operate the same because we've changed the character of the campus, in essence. And I've done that with an awesome team, a great team. Just this past year, we've decided, as a district, they decided to take the elementary children off of that campus and move them to a different campus, which means we grew. So we went from having 17 instructional units to having 27 instructional units. We started the school year with 9 students between both campuses, and we're already at 70 because students are going to be students and kids are going to be kids. But once they get into our grasp, once they can feel our touch and our love and see how we treat them on a daily basis with respect. We've got kids that are graduating seniors. Last year we graduated 12 that would have never graduated without High Banks University. We've got kids that are turnaround kids for the state of Florida. We've got students that won turnaround awards. We've got Teacher of the Year nominees, School Counselor of the Year nominees, First Year Teacher of the nominees, stuff that High Banks has just never had. I wanted to come today, and Sean helped me with this meeting, but I wanted to come today just to simply say that you're going to hear from us reaching out into the community because we're going to small businesses and privately owned businesses to see how you can help with our students in our school, whether it's financially, whether it's academically, whether you want to offer your time just to speak. So we have had local community members that went through High Banks when High Banks was in DeLand on Euclid Avenue, when it was called Euclid Learning Center. And they're professionals now, and they worked their way out because of the relationships they built 25 years ago. So we do the same as we kind of move forward. One of the biggest essences of our campus, though, is from the minute you step foot on it, every adult is smiling. They're all happy. We acknowledge student success all day long. We encourage the kids to do well on their academics. We announce it when they do. If they pass courses because they need to remediate, it gets announced school-wide. If it's your birthday, whether you're an adult or a student, we have our former Teacher of the Year from last year sings a wonderful version of Happy Birthday over the intercom to everybody. What you used to hear over the intercom was when they were calling for help and kids were in chaos. You just don't see that anymore on our campus. We've got probably over 9 business partners now that have either donated or given to High Banks for what their needs are. We offer opportunities to the teachers for growth. And our model really this year is not about making change, but coaching. Coaching the kids, coaching the adults. We all need coaching. I've never seen a player in this world, no matter who they are, that doesn't have a coach somewhere that's helping them along, whether it's with life decisions, beliefs, or on the field of play, or in whatever their sport or career is. So I really just want to say you're gonna hear our name a little bit more in a positive note. At the end of the day, we still have students that make bad choices, and that's the nature of our business. We're always gonna have those kids, but it's what we can do with them once we create positive change that makes all the difference.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say too that the building relationships is something that we've taken to another level this year. We kind of had to get our feet wet, and the students had to understand we meant, what is the saying? Someone doesn't know how much they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So this is the second year now that the students are understanding, and the word is kind of getting out. I think that one thing that's a testimony to that is the number of students that tried to get into our school. Parents called and said, we want our other children to be in your school, and we kind of have to say that's not the way it works. But it goes to show that building the relationships, I think, is a key piece that is missing in our other schools, if you will. So yes, so leadership though, as you can see, we have a fearless leader who any ideas we have to propel, good things into our school, he's supportive of, and just like leadership here. So we're trying to reach out to other leaders within the community. We've had community members, neighbors just drive in and say, hey, we just wanted to say we never knew what this was. It looked like an institution before. We see it's a school. We hear the announcements. We hear the singing. We know whatever it is. So that makes us feel good because it shows that the work that we're putting in is paying off. And so we appreciate the time that you guys have allowed us to come here, and we'd be happy to answer any questions that you have for us.
Well, I want to thank you for coming, and I am very supportive of the kinds of things that you're doing there. And I think that you will find that this community will step up and respond. This is a very warm community and a community with a heart. And so I think it's a good match. And you're right, for years it was there, and it was not very much part of the community.
Almost as bad as the eyesore on I-4.
Sort of like that. Sort of like that. Are there any other comments from the dais?
Very happy, and congratulations for making such a positive change. I was a former school teacher, and I know how difficult that can be when you have students facing problems in their home lives, and just the regular system sometimes isn't able to support them. Would you happen to have a card so maybe I could contact you?
Meant to grab them, and I did not.
We'll get those. I'll get those to you
Okay, we'll
guys.
get-
All right, thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
I appreciate it. And now we have another presentation, the DeBerry Dinosaur Costume
We do.
Committee.
That's right. So Jason Scheitz here, your Parks and Recreation Director here at the City of DeBerry. And as you all know, when we have folks that step up within the community, we like to give recognition. And tonight is no different. We have our DeBerry Dinosaur Dress Committee. So a little bit background on this committee. When we acquired the dinosaur probably a little over a year ago, we knew that we wanted to continue to dress the dinosaur. That's been kind of a tradition in town. And when costumes go up on that thing, people really gravitate towards it. But when we get our hands on things, we kind of want to elevate it. We want to take it to another level. So lucky for us, right here in town, we have Gateway Center for the Arts. Falls right into their wheelhouse. So I called Terry, the director over there, to kind of talk to her about what I had in mind. And that we wanted a volunteer committee, full creative control, make these costumes, and then we'll give you a little bit of budget, pay for the supplies, help you put them up, but you guys kind of make it happen. And I think her exact words were, Jason, that is amazing. We will make it happen. So a couple weeks later, we had 9 volunteers, and then the 2 representatives at the Gateway Center, Terry and Dylan. So we sit down with them, and we have like a kickoff meeting, kind of what we have proposed, what we want to do throughout the course of the year. And when you're working with groups of volunteers, you don't want to put too much on their plate too quick because they are volunteering their time. You don't want to overwhelm them. So kind of ease into things. Well, halfway through the meeting, what I got back from the volunteers was, well, is this all we're doing? Why aren't we doing more? Why is it just this amount of dates? Can it be dressed all year round? And we're like, well, let's just do one first and see how that goes, and then we'll kind of build on that. So we settled with 9 dates throughout the course of the year, usually around holidays. The committee comes out a week or 2 before the holiday or whatever date they're shooting for, and the costume will stay up for like 2 to 3 weeks. We'll meet them out there with our parks crew, help them put it up. Take a nice picture, and then it's up, and then people get to enjoy that. And I know you guys know that our communications department does a lot of posting on social media, keeps the community informed. So if you had to guess what the number one thing is that gets the most traction on our social media pages, it's the picture of the dinosaur when the dinosaur goes up with a costume. It gets tons of comments, likes, shares, and like I said before, people really gravitate gravitate to that, and this committee has knocked it out of the park over the last year. So we're here today to give them some recognition. So Mayor, if you could come down, we have some plaques to hand out for the group. So when I call your name, go get your plaque from the mayor and stay up front in front of the dais. And we're going to take a picture of the group at the end of the presentation here.
Well, Jason, I did want to remind you that when you were first talking about how often and whatnot, you and I and Carmen were in a room in the office, and I think it was going to be, it had just been 4th of July, and you and Carmen were talking about Halloween, and I said, we have to do something in the middle.
right.
And the two of you looked at me shocked, like, what's in the middle? I go, Labor Day, and they still had this shocked look on their face. What will we do with him for Labor Day? I said, he gets a hard hat.
He got his hard hat.
He got
did.
his hard hat. And so he looked great on Labor Day last year, and he looked great on Labor Day this year. But this has been such a wonderful project involving people in the community who can step up, and it is just what the whole community rallies around. I think it's wonderful. So.
It is. All right, so we have 11 folks here to announce. When I call your name, get your plaque from the mayor, and then, like I said, stay up front in front of the dais, and we'll get a quick picture before we end. All right, first, Julia Garch. She's not here.
All right.
All right, Vicki Sullivan.
She's here. Congratulations and thank you.
And Rob Sullivan.
Thank you so much, Rob.
Linda Natali.
All right. Linda, thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you so much.
Marilyn Anderson.
All right. Thank you so much.
Angela Sullivan.
Thank you so much.
Barbara Rutz.
Barbara, thank you so much.
Eileen McCrae. Not here. Vera Rexted.
Who's here? Vera, thank you so much.
And then next are our two Gateway Center of the Arts employees that are heading up the committee, Dylan Miller and Terry Hogue.
Terry, thank you so much.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, our inaugural Dinosaur Dress Committee. Council, do you want to stand up behind? All right. There we go. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll post out these pictures and send them out to y'all so you have a copy of that too. So thank you all again. I appreciate it.
Meetings are fun when you can start off like this with two great presentations. Okay. So we begin our new business. Agenda item number 1 is that the city manager is requesting the city council adopt resolution 2023-12 to set the final millage rate of 2.9247 for the levy of ad valorem tax for the fiscal year 2023 to 2024. The final millage rate of 2.9247 is 7.65% above the computed rollback rate of 2.7168. And we are also going to have a presentation that covers the final operating budget, which the millage funds, and we will read the resolutions after the presentation. So item number 2 is the city manager is requesting the city council adopt resolution number 2023-13 for the final annual operating budget for fiscal year 2023 to 2024. City Manager, are you going to present?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it. We're down to the end of our budget season. Long here. This is the last step of the process that you see here of the city manager issuing the budget, proposed budget July 15th. Working through all the details until tonight, September the 20th, 2023, and this is the final budget and the final millage. So just to give folks a little background, we like to give some presentations and tout ourselves a little bit because we're truly a success story. Nobody, and we say this when we going around, that nobody runs business like the
Government like a
business like the city of DeBary. Sorry, Mayor, it's been a long day. And so,
I've heard it once or twice.
yes. And our philosophy for perfecting contract for services is like second to none. We operate the entire city with 46 employees. And as you said in the invocation, our outstanding leadership and staff and performance and our collaboration between the city council and staff is impeccable. And we have a unified vision. Our strategic planning and teamwork is second to none. We have earned our trust and respect from our community, and it shows every time we have a council meeting that our council meetings are very transparent, and they're open to everyone that comes in, and you can see that our community is extremely satisfied with the performance of our council and our organization. We also like to tout that in 1993, when I was on the first council, and Mr. Sullivan is here tonight on the first council, we adopted the county's millage rate at 2.83 mils. And we tell folks all the time that over the last 30 years, our millage rate has only gone up 0.1 mil, 0.1 mil, 1/10 of a mil in 30 years. And it's a record that we're very proud of. The county has more than doubled their millage rate since then, and so we're very proud that we were able to be conservative in our financial approach. And so as you can see there, we've accomplished many capital projects. We improved all our internal operations. We improved our financial security, and I'm proud to say tonight, Mayor, that our general fund reserves are more than double since we started in 2019, and this council and staff should be commended for that. We are financially in a heck of a lot better position than we were in 2019. We're able to tell our residents that we are capable of handling any emergency that occurs in this particular city, and so we're proud of that. We're also positioned to be very agile and to adjust and do things like purchasing Alexander Island and doing other things like that to make sure that we enrich our community with the assets and a lifestyle they deserve. And so we always wanted to tout that, and you can see in the graph there, the city of DeBary has been very consistent with its millage rate, 2.9247 for many, many years. So according to the Florida statutes, and you know that I'm not in favor of the rollback law, but anyway, and how it portrays the community. But the proposed rate versus the rollback rate, our revenues are from last year are up 7.65%. So therefore, we must advertise that as a tax increase. Unfortunately, and as we approach this legislative session, the rollback law, in my opinion, is a little obsolete and needs some revision. It misleads the public that everybody's taxes are going up 7.65%, which is absolutely totally false. And to prove that, obviously, everybody, 80%, almost 80% of our residents in the city of DeBary are homesteaded, and because the Save Our Homes, which was passed after the rollback law that was originally initiated, protects all of our homeowners with a maximum of 3% increase. And so so therefore, obviously the increase is not 7.65%. There are 2,025 homes that are non-homesteaded, and obviously there are some issues with how about our taxable values come about, and existing property sales that are reassessed where folks may be coming from out of state and they buy a home that was originally on their tax rolls as maybe a taxable value of $250,000, and they buy a home for $500,000. By law, their new tax value is $500,000. There's nothing that the city does. These are the transactions that occur. And as I tell folks all the time, property tax is a market value tax. It's based upon the market value of your home, similar to sales tax. Sales tax is a market value tax based upon the cost and the retail sale of goods and services. And so the market goes up and down. And property tax generally goes up more than goods and services, but it is truly a market value tax. The other issue is commercial and industrial appraisals, and I'll give a prime example of the Integra Apartments on 1792. At one time in 2020, their taxable value was $3 million. But in 2021, the Integra Apartment Complex sold for $71.25 million. So their taxable value right now is $53 million. And it wasn't because of the city of DeBary raised their taxes, it was because of the market and that transaction that occurred increased our value by $50 million, the taxable value by $50 million. And so it's these types of transactions that the city does not have a specific impact on. And so we're not actually raising taxes, the revenues are increasing because of these transactions that we have control of. Revenues increase, and here's the hypocrisy of it. When I left the Department of Revenue, the state's budget was about 75 to 80 billion. Today, it's 117 billion. And as I tell folks all the time, I haven't seen anybody march on the steps to ask the state to roll back sales tax. And what drives that increase in budget is population, transactions, and value. And so as it does in sales tax, it does in property tax as well. But we're proud with the city of DeBary that we're able to maintain a 2.9247 tax rate, and it is lowest in the county, and I believe it's one of the lowest in all of Central Florida. So this is my favorite chart, and I keep updating it every year, and it shows everybody else that the city of DeBary is 2.9247. DeLand is 6.4841. Lake Helen 6.85. Deltona 7.35. They just lowered it by a 0.33 mils. Orange City just lowered theirs to 7.12. And then I've adjusted Volusia County because they're in a process of separating their ad valorem into separate categories, and I'll explain that a little bit. And it's really just a play on or an accounting strategy, but it also is going to be a marketing strategy going forward. Right now, their millage rate is 5.2708 for all residents, but that doesn't include Volusia Forever or Volusia for Echo. I've pulled those out, but you can see the star on the bottom. Volusia County 5.2708 is for the general fund of 3.3958. They've separated out law enforcement into its own millage at 1.4541, and that's obviously they wanted more transparency in the sheriff's budget. And then they separate the library out at 0.4209. And these are things that generally come out of our general fund. The 2.92 that we have in our city pays for law enforcement and pays for fire services. Now, if you're in the unincorporated area, you pay 10.8076. And as you can see there, they break out all the services. The general fund is 3.39, law enforcement 1.4541, library 0.42. They have a municipal service district of 1.6958. They charge their unincorporated residents, and then they separate fire. And fire is 3.8412. And so there are folks that are in an unincorporated pay 10.8 mils. And so you're going to see some marketing there that how the county has reduced their millage rate down to 3.3958. And that's and we have to be aware of some of those things. When we hear those things, they separate out these particular things with separate funds and take some of those funds out of there. And so that I just want to let you know that if you hear those things, how the county's reducing their ad valorem rate to 3.3958, they're just actually separating out the law enforcement That's normally paid out of general fund. But if you live in DeLand and you move to the city of DeBary and you have a $250,000 home in DeLand taxable value, and if you move to DeBary, you would save immediately on your city taxes 57%. Also with this, the city of DeBary, our median income is $75,771. You can see on the top of that on that chart, that's as of July 1, 2022. The Census Bureau is usually a year behind. I did give a presentation this week advising folks that we believe it's nearly 80,000, and we see some websites that already have our millage rate, our median income rate over $80,000. And so with and it's interesting enough, it's up 32.2% over the last 4 years, which is extraordinary. The city of DeBary has changed significantly over the last 4 years. A lot of folks are moving here because it's cheaper to move here. They're moving from, a lot of folks are moving from Lake Mary, Maitland area, moving to this particular area to raise families. Quality of life's better, and the close-knit community attracts a lot of our residents to move here, but it's also cheaper to move here. And then they can jump on either the Sunrail station or drive down I-4 to their particular, to their work. So I take the millage rate and I kind of shift it around a little bit and say, and I did provide this I made a presentation to the Republican Club last week. And so I said, and a lot of folks there were from other cities. And so, yes, the city of DeBary is at 2.9247. Ormond Beach is the next one in Volusia County. Their ad valorem tax rate is 41.7% higher. But I always scroll down to DeLand, they're 121% higher. Lake Helen is 134% higher. Orange City is 143% higher. Deltona is 151% higher than the city of DeBary. And I think I tout that all the time, that our residents and our organization and the council should be extremely proud of what we accomplish every single year with the taxes for our community. So, Mayor, getting into the budget, our operational expenses, the CPIU, which is the labor statistic from the Census Bureau, is up 6.5% this year. It was up 7.1% last year. And the inflation is 4.8%. Last year was greater than 6%. And so as you can see that even though that we have these inflationary items, that we're able to keep the millage rate the same for our residents. We are asking for an employee COLA of 4%. Other cities are their increases for their employees is 3 to 6%, and most of them are 5%. Volusia County, 5%. We also are asking for one part-time employee to move to full-time employee in our IT. We have had a significant amount of increases in our IT. We got a cybersecurity grant last year. That's going to add to the need for constant maintenance of our technology. When we came in, remember, we came in 2019, our technology was poor at best. And our enhancements that we've made since 2019, we are automated a lot of our systems, particularly in our building department and everything else. And so we've done a terrific job in upgrading our IT. Law enforcement, the same contract pricing as last year. We signed a 2-year contract, and we are adding 3 flock license plate readers. And this will assure that every entrance into DeBary, if you have a stolen vehicle, you'll get recognized and will get caught coming into DeBary, coming or leaving. Fire services, we are going through contract pricing for labor. The union negotiations are continuing. They're looking to about a 4 or 5% increase. So right now our budget is $2.159 million. And that's significantly less than a lot of other cities pay for their fire services. And I tell folks all the time, Orange City Fire Department is one of the best fire departments in all of Volusia County. And we're privileged by contracted services of bringing the best service to our residents, and we can do that. We can contract with anybody we want to, but Orange City's the best, and they are by far the greatest value for our community. We are adding a fire inspector and a vehicle under this particular budget because of the growth in our communities. We no longer can share one fire inspector for all of it with the growth of our communities. And so we're separating that process out, and we're adding a fire inspector and a vehicle as to this particular contract. We also did a budget amendment for the new fire station personnel and kind of organized the transition of our new fire station, which I'll update you here shortly. And our Orange City Fire Department also applied for the grant to pay for our additional personnel for up to 3 years. And hopefully we'll know here in the next few months whether that grant gets awarded. And if so, that will make the transition to our new fire station much cheaper and more tolerable. So as far as the budget is concerned, the city manager budget is similar as last year. Folks ask us who's in the city manager's budget. Well, that's the HR, myself, HR director, city clerk, economic development and government affairs and communications director, and we have 4 other communications folks in that department. General government is similar as last year. The information technology, as we said, we're adding we're increasing one part-time employee to a full-time. And obviously the cybersecurity grant that we received to make sure that our city doesn't get the threats of cybersecurity. Finance is similar as last year. Public Works, we're adding a lift truck or bucket truck. Unfortunately, we did that. You see a reduction in road servicing. Obviously, that money was used for some of our projects this year that I'll show with you here shortly. But the bucket truck, our current bucket truck is about 10 years old. The lift is no longer certifiable, and so we got adding a bucket truck in our budget for Public Works. In our parks, obviously the CDBG, we're looking for a pavilion. We have a continuing project from last year. From the tennis courts is continuing with the dog park at Keller. And then adding a couple pieces of equipment for Parks and Rec that are 20 years old, the Kubota tractor and the Gator, as you can see. We're very conscious with our equipment, but unfortunately these are getting so old that it costs more to repair than to get new ones, and it makes good business sense to do that. Our Keller concession remodel is necessary. Last meeting we talked about the Florence K. Little air conditioning units. They're 15 to 18 years old. They need to be replaced, and so we added that to our budget. And then last week we got some additional information from the state of Florida that our revenue sharing will go up about $20,000. We get constant updates from the Department of Revenue depending on how the state of Florida's economic committee works and how they look at the economy and anticipating revenues. And it's called the Florida Estimating Committee. And that Florida Estimating Committee really kind of identifies what monies are going to be available to the state of Florida. And that's what they work their budget and their legislative session off of. And so they make constant adjustments to the sales tax revenues and what are distributed down to the cities. I have put this in a placeholder with Alexander Engineering. As you know, they're already engineering the entrance, that corner, to turn that curve in front of Alexander Island into a 3-way stop. But this additional $20,000 could go also for the engineering for the Shell parking lot. And so by the time we get the grant in March or April, there's a possibility that not only can we do the curve and turn it into a 3-way stop, but we can also build the Shell parking lot as well. This way, that will give us easy access in and out to do the rest of the project. And so it's a placeholder. It'll come before you for approval, but it's a placeholder to maybe take an opportunity that once we get the grant, that we could quickly move forward and build the entrance into that park. So these are the 4 major projects. Obviously, the Fort Florida reconstruction, it starts in January. It's from railroad tracks to Barwick. The cost is $2.5 million. It is to raise the road and build a 10-foot trail along the southern part of that particular road. And it will connect the Sunrail station all the way to Alexander Island. The Fort Florida Bridge, we're fortunate with that, as it's a $2 million project. We do have a $1 million grant, and since our last meeting, the St. John's Water Management District approved the resolution for approving that $1 million grant. And it goes now to FDEP for us to do some contract work. We're also working on a final draft contract with FP&L, but that's a $2 million project, and that will start in fiscal year 24-25. As the next year, we'll be doing the engineering for that particular bridge. And it's going to be a 9-month to a year process to get that engineering completely done, particularly when FP&L is involved. The fire station we did a RFQ for our CMAR contract that cost us $5.15 million. We did issue an intent to award to Wharton Smith Construction Group. The protest period has expired, and we will be bringing that to the council for an award hopefully October the 4th. And then we'll be working on, shortly thereafter, we'll be working on a guaranteed maximum price. They'll be working with their subcontractors and everything else. That will be coming back to you to approve that guaranteed maximum price. As you can know, remember that we received a $1.25 million grant for the fire station in 2022. Then Alexander Island the project is $4.375 million. The city's putting up $1.8 million. We're expecting a $2.5 million grant from the Volusia County ECHO. The application is being drafted, and it will be filing it next month, the exceptional grant with Volusia County. What's wanted to tout here a little bit, Mayor and Council, is that this is about $14 million worth of projects. We're proud to announce that with that, on how we stretch the taxpayer dollar, all these projects include $4.75 million in grants.
City Manager, there's one other aspect to that I'd like you to add for those who haven't been part of the prior discussions. Yeah. All of these with the high tags and the notes what we expect in grants. In addition to that, the city has the money and is not undertaking any new debt to move forward with these projects. The money has been salted away over the last several years in anticipation of some of them. We've used ARPA funding for other parts of them. There is no new debt coming to the city for these projects, and I think that's significant in addition to the noting of the grants.
This is all going to be paid with cash, Mayor and Council. So, and thanks to you for your financial foresight in making sure that we've been planning for these for quite some time. And even though that we didn't get the Fort Florida reconstruction grant, and it was vetoed by the governor, we had the foresight several years ago to start saving for that particular project. It's absolutely needed, not only for the developments down there, but also for Main Street and to get the folks down there. So Mayor and Council, that's both the millage at 2.9247, and that's also the budget presentation. I'd be glad to answer any questions that you or the public may have.
City Clerk, do we have any public participation?
No, ma'am, we do not.
Okay, so we'll have council questions and comments, and then...
Excuse me.
Yes?
We need to get the resolutions
We
read.
will, before we
Before the
discuss?
yes.
Okay, go ahead. I was going to say we'd do it after that, but we'll do it right. Would you read both resolutions, please, City Attorney?
Resolution number 2023-12, a resolution of the City of DeBary, Volusia County, Florida, adopting a final millage rate for the levy of ad valorem taxes for fiscal year 2023-2024 on all taxable property located within the City of DeBary, Florida. And we also have resolution number 2023-13, a resolution of the City of DeBary, Volusia County, Florida, adopting the final annual operating budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2023 and ending September 30th, 2024, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Councilmember Sell, any questions or comments?
No questions.
Councilmember Papalardo.
One brief comment. I made a presentation of my own a couple meetings ago, but just really brief, something that our city manager mentioned was how we have a very protected tax base that is insulated from market change, and I think that is very apparent in the impact that our average resident is going to see on their tax bill. if you consider a run rate home being one that is homesteaded and has not had a significant alteration to the home or a sale, that average among that group of homes, which is a great majority of homes, is only about 1.5% change year over year. So that's a quarter of inflation. So that's a real savings in the scheme of things on an economic basis. And I think that's very important to drive home that we are creating real value in the city of DeBary and that we are running so efficiently while still meeting all of the needs. And I'm very pleased with the budget that's been brought before us, and there's been a lot of work put here between our finance department and our executive team here. And they should be commended highly because this is a great planning procedure and it was done at a very professional level.
Thank you. Councilmember Stevenson?
I like that phrase you just said, creating value. I think that's really what we've been doing for our community, and glad to be part of such a cohesive council that can pull this together. Thank you also, City Manager.
Vice Mayor Butlin?
Not just one minor comment. Carmen, can you verify that we have no unincorporated properties in DeBary for Volusia County? Or do we have any that we're,
Well, there are some cities in the west side that have some enclaves of unincorporated areas, but the city of DeBary doesn't have any enclaves of unincorporated areas.
and what's our impact from Gemini and Lake Monroe and the mansion? We get nothing, we don't pay anything for that, and we don't get anything for that,
No,
correct?
neither,
public record.
right. I
Okay.
mean, other than, tourists coming here and spending their money here and everything else, but those are,
Like-
we don't pay anything to Gemini, and we don't get anything from the counties for those, but, and they don't, and we don't pay them anything either.
Because someone said they looked at the budget and didn't see it in there, and why aren't we paying for all we need to pay? Well, it's not ours.
No, they're
Volusia.
county
They're
properties.
county properties,
County
yes.
properties. I just wanted to make sure, public record, to get that done.
Right.
I'm good with that, Mayor, thank you.
And to piggyback on that comment, we do pay for those.
Yes.
We pay for those through the Volusia County
Tax.
tax that we pay for those
But
of
it's not in
us
our-
that are in a municipality.
Yes.
And so we, like every other county resident, helps pay for all the parks from the east side to the west side and many other operations through our county taxes. I want to say thank you again for the clear description. Each time we have gone over this, the reason that there is an extensive discussion here is we have gone through this numerous times through this budget process, always with clear data, as you've seen presented here this evening. But each time we approach it, it's important for those watching at home, for those here with us in the chambers, to see the data, and I appreciate that we do go over it each time. And rest assured, I think each of the council members up here have gone through the entire budget once we received it in July 15. So this is something we have worked with for quite some time. I don't want you to think that the lack of detailed comments here means that we are glossing over it. It means we have done our work incrementally through the whole budget process, and we have reached the end here. So I would entertain a motion for the first resolution, which is the millage rate resolution, 2023-12, if there's no further discussion.
Move to approve Resolution 2023-12 to set the final millage rate of 2.9247 for the levy of the ad valorem tax for the fiscal year of 2023-2024.
Second.
Do we need to read the rollback sentence as well for the motion? I've read it aloud earlier. Do we need to read
did. She left the
the
last
rollback sentence of the motion? Does it need to be in the motion? I have read it aloud earlier.
I think we're just approving it as is.
Okay, thank you. So it was, you were offering the motion, and Jim, did you second it?
Yes.
Okay. Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Yes.
Councilmember Sell?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Butlin?
Yes.
And I am a yes. And next, I would entertain a motion on the budget resolution, which is resolution number 2023-13 for the approving the final annual operating budget for fiscal year 2023-2024.
Motion that
Go ahead, Jim.
that City Council adopt Resolution 2023-13 setting final annual operating budget for fiscal year 2023-2024.
Second.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Butlin?
Yes.
Councilmember Sell?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes.
And I am a yes. And the process is done for this year.
I just want to congratulate our finance department.
Absolutely.
Leslie, congratulations on your engagement.
Yes, for sure.
He thought he was going to get off easy tonight. but
Yes.
Congratulations, he's
But-
now engaged to Casey Hewitt,
Yes,
So-
also of staff.
also staff.
So we offer congratulations for the personal, but also for the professional. And please
Professional,
convey
thank
it
you.
to the
Yes,
rest of the
I know
group.
this is out.
We know these budgets don't fall from the sky fully formed for us just to peruse, and that many hours have gone into it for your department as well as for the city manager and other people on staff in their respective departments. Thank you very much,
you.
and please convey our appreciation. The next item on our agenda is Parks and Recreation Department is requesting the council approve the annual renewal for the Gateway Center for the Arts Facility Use Agreement.
Thank you, Mayor. Jason Scheitz here again, your Parks and Recreation Director. So yes, we're here to renew the facility use agreement with Gateway Center for the Arts. So a few things to consider with this renewal. First and foremost, the city has had a long-standing positive relationship with the Gateway Center for the Arts, and that partnership has definitely probably gotten stronger over the last year and a half as we worked kind of hand in hand with them to start maintaining this building and kind of letting them what they do best to run those art and cultural programs and events. The initial agreement was signed last May of 2022 with an annual term of September 1st to August 31st, and we set up the term that way to align it with the Gateway's fiscal year and programming schedule. In the time since the agreement's been signed, the city's invested around $50,000 into the facility already. One of the bigger items was the painting of the exterior, and then some repairs on the outside and inside of the building to go along with that. And the budget you all just approved has another proposed $50,000 in there for the remainder of the initial facility improvements that we identified prior to signing the agreement once the new roof went up. And then last but not least, we've worked directly with Gateway Center of the Arts over the last year to implement some new operating procedures. So those procedures include the responsibility for each party, processes for reporting maintenance and cleanliness issues and things of that nature, providing programming and events through a shared calendar. So we always have a hand on what's going on in the facility, and then city use of the facility as well. When space does become available, we use the facility for private rentals on the city side, as well as possible future programming or events when space permits. So with all that being said, the city recommends to approve the agreement renewal, and I'm going to turn it over to Terry Hogue. She's the executive director over at Gateway Center for the Arts. She's going to give you a recap of this past year and some things to look forward to in the next year, and then she'll turn it over to you for comments and questions.
Thank you. Welcome, Terry.
Hello,
We are
everyone.
so happy to see you here this evening.
Thank you, and it's always good to see you guys. You do have Eric, I just did are the forms up there? Do we have forms?
We didn't put it up there as a PowerPoint.
That's okay.
Yep.
Do you guys
We
have
do
a
have
copy?
'em,
Okay,
yes.
great, great. So first off, Terry Hogue, 416 Sotheby Way, DeBerry, and proud of it. And I wanted to come to you as the executive director of Gateway. So starting off, we just want to review the last year. We had a total of 632 activities. We had multiple activities going on at the same time. We had 8 gallery exhibits, which were 345 days, which is pretty much the entire year but 2 weeks. 7 classes for 195 days. 11 summer camps, 56 days, over 300 students. 18 concerts and events, taking 50 days, plus rehearsals, which are 6 to 8 weeks for every theater show. We had 2 great festivals, our 23rd year for having Youth Celebration of the Arts, and our beautiful festival with the city, the Crafts and Carols, which is becoming one of my favorite. So now I'm taking off the art director hat and going to the executive director hat. Trying to sound like our nice VP, Richie Coloni. So we are going to start off. We are excited to present our first annual income and expense report in partnering with the city. This is truly just a helicopter view, this first part. The total income of just over $200,000. Total expenses are $199,000, which gives us a net profit for our first year, $1,113, and we are very happy to be in the black, but a true definition of a non-for-profit. So if you want to quickly, I'm just going to go down the line items. We're going to start off with our income. We had a class income of $17,000, comprised of 7 different classes that occur monthly, biweekly, and by semesters. We had a concession income of almost $5,000. Very simple, all of our beverages and snacks that we sell during the year. Facilities rental income of almost $11,000. This income is from existing contracts with the HOA, DeLand Chamber, and Grace Baptist Church. From now on, the future non-art rentals will now go to the city. Gallery consignment income of $217, and this income is produced by the gallery sales. Gift shop income of almost $2,000. All of you, and I mean all of you, have been in our lobby and have seen the many beautiful pieces of art, including pottery, jewelry, wood carvings, pillows, etc., from local artists. And of course, DeBerry Dino Cups are the #1 seller. Again with the dino. Okay. Municipal and corporate grants of $77,000. We are very proud of this number because we budgeted about 40. So 77 is more than we expected. We did have tremendous support from the state, the county, and Duke Energy. Membership of $1,530. This is really just the revenue income generated from membership. Sponsorships and donations of $15,000. We had 24 different sponsors. We are very appreciative of the local corporations and individuals that have given this year. Summer camp income, $51,000. We had over 300 students attend our 11 camps and raised $51,437 in gross revenue with a net income of $31,000. This is truly one of our strongest accomplishments, and we do truly love that program. Theater and events income of almost $19,000. We had 18 multicultural events throughout the year. The United States Treasury 52288 was just a refund, which gives us a total income of $200,601.99. Let's go to the expenses. The first one, we had accounting expenses of $8,000. These expenses include accounting, banking, software, and online booking fees. Advertising and marketing of $400. We do place ads with the DeLand Chamber and the West Volusia Beacon. Class expenses of over $10,000. This would be the cost of the teachers and all the supplies for all of our classes. Concession expense of over $2,000, basically the cost of our beverages and snacks. Facility expense of almost $20,000. More than $10,000 of this cost is for liability, D&O, property, and workman's comp. Insurances, other expenses like electricity, landscaping, water, and maintenance were expenses we had before our city agreement, and we will not have those going forward. Florida Department of Revenue for $180 is basically our sales tax. Gallery consignment expense of $200. These are expenses paying for reception snacks throughout the year. Gift shop expenses, $1,700. That's our 70-30 percentage split with our artists whenever they sell their art. We had a legal expense of $3,900. This was a defense attorney fee that we had against a software company not providing the services we were promised. It went to collections, and we did get the case dismissed with all of the evidence that we had, but still had to pay $3,900 in legal fees. We are happy that that was it. Office supplies of $1,500. Those are just our basic supplies, including paper, stationery, etc. We have a payroll of $102,363, broken down by 3 employees, 1 full-time, 2 part-time. Technology expense our summer camp expense of $20,484. These expenses include all of the teachers and supplies. Technology expense of about $8,000. These were mostly unexpected expenses, having to replace 3 computers and 1 of our speakers. We hope to not have to do that next year. Theater and events expense of $15,500. All expenses involved with the theater, including playwrights, directors, and props. Volunteers, $3,500. We are very appreciative of our volunteers. They are completely giving and always there when we need them. So this includes gift cards, lunches, pizza parties, which brings our total expenses to $199,488. Our big profit of $1,113. Thank you. We do have a balance sheet. And real quickly, the balance sheet with our assets and liabilities, our cash on hand, including our register, lock boxes, and bank accounts, $88,000. Our fixed assets, including theater, furniture, and computer equipment, totals loosely $18,000. Our liabilities, which is our credit card, $27,17, and that is paid off monthly. So we are down to the proposed 23-24 fiscal year with Gateway Center. We have now for the next year, which is always fun to project, we are hoping to keep this pace rolling into the next fiscal year 23-24, keeping some but implementing new events, classes, concerts, and summer themes. For gallery shows, we want to continue to have 8 to 9 exhibits. We have 1 pre-existing, which is a beautiful exhibit that is now in the gallery. Classes, we've already added 4 new classes scheduled for this year. Summer camps, we just want to continue to be successful with our 8 to 9 week summer camp. Concerts and events, and introducing a new playwright series. We already have one scheduled in February. She is a brand new playwright. Proposed individual events, and we're already up 15 from the previous year. Festivals, just continuing, it will be our 24th Youth Celebration of the Arts, which if anybody doesn't know, that was part of what got the building built. They started that 24 years ago. So kudos to the volunteers and people who helped build that. And then, of course, I truly love the Crafts and Carols event that we do with the city. So last but not least, our Gateway Strategic Plan. The first part is really just our mission statement, but I'll just quickly read it for the public. Gateway Center for the Arts seeks to advance the quality of life within its sphere of influence by making available and providing access to multidisciplines of art and culture, bringing aesthetic awareness, promoting lifelong learning and wellness to people of all ages, cultural heritage, and abilities. Gateway also encourages and perpetuates the production, preservation, conservation, viewing of the fine arts, and the educational support of the arts to all. We dedicate our programs to serve children and adults, not only in DeBary, but all neighboring communities. So our goals from 2024 are enlarge our board of directors with people who share a common goal and will support our vision. We will market through our community to increase our volunteer program. Point 3, educate and market our communities with all of the services we offer. Last but not least, properly fund to increase size of staff to accommodate new opportunities and membership. And I do just want to end this by saying we would love to continue our building usage over 600 times throughout the past fiscal year, and also continue to have over 20,000 visitors, patrons, and community members come to Gateway annually. I am super proud of that number, as we all should be as a community. It is a beautiful number for a small art center in a beautiful town. Thank you to the City of DeBary and the community for supporting the arts and helping us get there. Any questions?
City Clerk, do we have any public participation?
No, ma'am, we do not.
Okay, we'll go down the dais as we usually do. Councilmember Sell, questions or comments?
I just want to say that I utilize the Gateway Center for the Arts. I love to laugh, so I go to the Improv. Chili contest is always excellent. The addition of Dylan has been great. I think he's helped push the Gateway into different directions than maybe they would have gone before. I really like this partnership. I get feedback now all the time about the Gateway. When we bring new people there for the comedy show or the League of Cities, people are asking questions now about the Gateway Center. So
Nice.
I just see this getting bigger and better in the future, and I see good things for the Gateway Center. So thank you
Great.
for all you guys do.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Papalardo.
I remember when we were starting the facility takeover agreement, and I got to see some of the inner workings of the financial statements, and they were a bit concerning. And to see a great turnaround is very reassuring. And I'm glad this partnership has contributed to that, and I hope to see that continue. And just to see an expansion of these programs is very, very beneficial to our community, and I'm glad that it's being done in a sustainable manner now.
Thank you.
you for all of your effort.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Stevenson.
Yes, thank you. I would agree that this is very refreshing to see the changes and improvements. I could tell even before this presentation that the visibility of all the programs and in the community seems to increase over the last year, and been glad to see that, and been to a couple improv shows myself, and definitely great value and asset to our community, and good partnership between the Gateway and City of DeBary.
Great.
Vice Mayor Butman.
I've stepped into the Gateway many, many times over the last several years, volunteering there. I'm really glad that it's continuing to grow and move forward. I sponsored, I've been on the little TV you had up there, I've been all over. But I'm glad that it's continuing to support the city and the community and what it's doing and offering. So I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to see what you have coming up this year, and I look forward to being a part of it as well.
Great.
Thank you.
And I would like to say thank you to you, Terry. I know that there were some really tough years, particularly during COVID, when it was hard to figure out how you keep your head above the water and how things can move forward to some other structure. And I think that we have a structure that is working, and I think a lot of the credit for this growth in programs and the return to profitability goes to your efforts, which are above and beyond, and so I very much appreciate it. And I'd also like to thank the board and the vice president or chair, I don't know, Richie Coloni, who is over the financial side in particular of this. And you are right, Councilmember Papalardo, there were some years there when the finances were rather dicey. And this financial report is extremely encouraging, and it reflects a lot of hard work on many people's parts, with a lot of it coming from Richie Coloni, because he's involved with that part of the organization, and Terry's cooperation with him, bringing the administration and the arts together with the financial side. I do have a question, and this may be for Jason. I know that in pulling this together for this report, and I understand why our agreement had this report and the renewal coming to match the Gateway fiscal year, which is September 1 to August 31. But getting a complete set of financials within 3 weeks is asking quite a lot. So I'm wondering if there is any appetite or interest in allowing the city manager to negotiate with Gateway about the financial report coming slightly later. Now, a report of activities for the year, I think may be easier to aggregate, but every company I've ever been with, every organization I've been with, this city does not have complete books as of September the 30th and the third week of October. And for a small organization, I think it's asking a lot to do things like, before releasing these, they have to have a board meeting. So they have to not only be done, they have to have a board meeting, they have to get agreement before they give us their financials. Now, we need the financials because we're partners in this enterprise. but I'm not certain that we need them in a time frame that matches the renewal, or maybe the renewal period is the wrong period. I'm not sure how that should be reconciled, but I think that expecting anyone to get financials completed with appropriate board approval and everything else within less than 3 weeks after the close of the period is asking quite a bit for a small organization. So I'd be open to input from the rest of the council. Would you be interested in perhaps a consensus asking the city manager and the Parks and Rec director to get together with Gateway and see if there is some sort of minor modification to the reporting term only that might make this more workable? This year being the first year, they brought the whole package that they were required to under the agreement. But that is quite an ask on our parts. And I don't think it was anybody did it intentionally. It's like we matched their year, we'll renew it the next council meeting, and we move on. But I'm wondering, what would you think, council?
Mr. Coloni stood up. Maybe
Mr. Coloni would like to say something, and then I think Councilmember Papalardo might want to say something. Mr. Coloni.
Hi, Richie Coloni, 333 Hazeltine Drive. Thank you, Mayor, for your comments and your support to all of you. Hello, Council. Hello, Mayor. Hello, the most important City Clerk and City Manager. Good evening. I agree with your sentiment. It was one of the items I was going to bring up. It is a lot of work. As Jason said, our year ends at August 31st. To put together those financial reports, to go through the audit, to schedule a board meeting, to review them, to create a budget for the next year, and build a strategic plan in a 3-week period of time is an extremely stressful event. If we can extend that to the month of October, it would be greatly appreciated.
So, Councilmember Papalardo, did you have any thoughts?
I'm glad you stood up, Mr. Coloni. Do you guys close on a monthly or quarterly basis?
Explain that.
Close your financials every month.
We do a monthly report at every meeting. We do a quarterly review,
Okay.
and then our fiscal year.
Quarterly review, I'm glad you mentioned that. So something that I could propose for consideration would be, could we do a trailing 4 quarters, so your third quarter through the prior fourth quarter? That way you have your quarterly board review, as well as if you have any strategic planning for that upcoming quarter, it would be, it would represent 12 trailing months at least, as well as give ample opportunity for strategic planning as well as review from the board.
Well, but then we'll have 2 sets of books. We'll have the trailing set of books, and then so we just doubled the books. I'm not sure that's much help.
It's functional.
I do not have a problem, Mayor, in regarding to sending a quarterly report. It's just going through the audit at the year end, and I don't want to misrepresent the final financials. But
Sure.
Having a quarterly report sent to you, I actually believe that's what our agreement typically or actually says. I don't have a problem with sending that income and expense report at all.
Right. All I was trying to accomplish there is to move the final period of reporting to be 3 months sooner, so that you're not trying to close. In the final month of the fiscal year is so much more challenging than any other given month.
What you're going to witness in this particular business, as Terry mentioned, we are actually a very seasonal business. $51,000 of our income came in July and
July and August, so it,
any monthly report prior to the July and August is going to be in the red.
so,
And I learned that this year as well.
right. And if you looked at their financials, you saw that they have a really healthy bank account right now. Why is that? Because the camp money is there. They just finished the camps. But that money is used throughout the year, so there's going to be some other months where, like, the end of June, it's going to look pretty skinny.
I understand.
And so I just think perhaps the better report and review and approval, but what I guess I think would be best is for us not to try to figure out the exact formula here, unless you feel that's more beneficial, and that if the council would have a consensus to direct the city manager and the Parks and Rec director to work with Gateway to see if there is some kind of reporting schedule modification only that could make it more realistic.
Is it
Councilmember
possible-
Stevenson?
Is it possible for us to make our annual renewal for this year up through October of next year, so that then we don't have to worry about rushing you guys for a full report, and we don't have to approve a renewal without the report. Does that make sense?
Well, we could just
No,
we could do a slight amendment to the current agreement and just move the renewal from September to September to October to October.
October works for you guys as
Yeah,
well?
that's not a big deal.
The financials they would provide would be on their fiscal year. We're not going to ask them to change a fiscal year.
No, correct.
But we would do the renewal in October.
Yes.
With the full package, because they will have had a month and a half to do it instead of 3 weeks, which I think is much more reasonable.
I agree.
Is that more reasonable?
Yeah.
Does that cause you any heartburn, Parks and Rec Director?
No, it doesn't. The only thing is the program schedule. So we aligned it that way. Let's say anything ever changed with this agreement. Say they didn't no longer had the resources to to put on these types of programs. Then we'd be a little late in the game if we ever had to make a change, mid-fall or around the holidays. And that's why I was aligned that way. So just take that into consideration. I don't mind changing it October.
Well, I think anytime we are in a budget year and we have to make a change, it's the same kind of crisis, whether it's 1 month or
Yeah,
another.
so you're in
So
the
I
middle
don't, I'm real, not very swayed by
So
that.
that was the only other reason I could think
Yeah.
of, but I'm good with it. So
Okay.
We can. Do you want us
Could we have a consensus of, I think we can do it with consensus to ask that the city manager and Parks and Rec and Gateway figure it out with an eye to changing the reporting and
Yeah,
the
it's-
cycle to October instead of September?
Yeah, I'll get with the city attorney. I'm looking through the agreement now. It's such a minor amendment.
It's a minor thing.
And so we can put
Okay, if
whatever
you-
minor amendment we do,
if
we
you-
can bring it to council for.
Yeah, if you have to bring it back to us, that's fine, but is there consensus? Is there anyone here who is concerned about the staff and Gateway talking about
have-
that amendment?
I have a question.
Yes.
It doesn't affect our budget unless something happens that we have to now plan for our activities.
Yeah.
So
But-
affecting our budget has nothing to do, or proving whatever at any point has
No.
nothing to, so.
It's just run of the mill
I'm with
renewal, then it has
Yeah.
no impact. But
Yeah,
if
right.
anything ever changes, then it's going to have an impact.
Right, but that's
And then
going to
we'll deal
happen
with it.
if it's, we couldn't have changed the budget very quickly tonight anyway. I mean, we're at
Doesn't impact.
we're at the end of the road with that. In fact, it was approved before we got to this agenda item. So it's always going to be an ad hoc kind of a
Right.
situation if we have a problem.
But if everything
So-
stayed the same, I think we're okay. I'm okay with it. So if
All right.
everything stays
I-
as is.
I see consensus.
Yes.
If anybody says I'm reading this wrong, please speak up or forever hold your peace. It's not a wedding.
And so you don't need that change for the date in the motion for tonight, then?
No.
No.
We'll do
have to be an
we'll do a
amendment.
quick first, will actually be a second amendment. 'Cause
Yeah.
We did a first amendment to extend the agreement till 2020,
To
2046.
take care of the issue with Echo.
So-
Yeah. Okay,
So I'll make a motion
great.
that we
Any
approve
other
the annual
participation?
renewal for the Gateway Center for the Arts Facility Use Agreement.
Is there a second?
Second?
Vice Mayor Butland?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Yes.
Councilmember Sell?
Yes.
And I'm a yes. Thank you very much, both of you.
Can I go to my second point?
Oh, sure.
Oh,
First, my comment, the partnership and the arrangement with the city and Gateway is the only way this is going to succeed. So we really appreciate the city's support. In relationship to the agreement, we learn after the first year the positives and negatives. Most of it is all positive. We are running into one stumbling block that I'd like to ask you to consider. And the fact is, as a board, we have a responsibility to relieve Terry from as many tasks as possible. And one of the things that we have is the communication agreement right now is only one person from GCA has to be a liaison between the city and Gateway. We didn't realize in the beginning the amount of calls, which, by the way, before I preface this, Jason, working with Jason and Terry has been a great relationship. So this is no knocking on that communication. But we're finding that some of the communication processes are taking away Terry from her artistic side of chores to the business side. I'd like the council to consider this option. 2 people can communicate with the city. What I mean by that, the daily operations of calendaring and scheduling and room availability, that's all within daily operations, and that shouldn't change and wouldn't change. However, when it comes to the building, the equipment, the mechanical problems, things breaking down, strategic things that we can discuss, I would like to be able to have a board member to be able to communicate directly with Jason. The way it works right now is we have to communicate to Terry about an air conditioner that just broke in the pottery. She then has to come out and look at it with me. We try to diagnose it ourselves, change some batteries. Then she has to communicate with the city, and then she comes back and tells us what's going on. It takes away a lot of work. I would like to simply, and even if it had to be defined, is to be able to have a board representative also have the ability to communicate with the Parks and Recs director, because it's adding too much work to Terry. You may not see that. I do, because I'm there pretty much on a daily basis. It would be 90% communicating with Terry, because that's the daily operations, but some of the strategic things, building things, mechanical things, I think a board of director who is knowledgeable on that can communicate easier. The board is actually contemplating changing that single person because of the amount of work that Terry is taking to that chain. And I think if we did that, that would make it harder on the Parks and Rec, and that's not our goal. Our goal is to work better, more efficiently, more proficiently. The person speaking from the board, yet to be determined, will be speaking on behalf of the board. I can understand in the past of history where Jason may have difficulty dealing with individual board members or too many board members. That would not be the case. But I think if you can open your minds to the logistics of the amount of work it's creating for Terry, I want her to wear her artistic hat as much as she possibly can. And number 3, this organization needs volunteers. So I know that some members of the community are listening to this conversation. We need more volunteers, both young who are physical and those that are still young at heart. So if anyone out there is willing to volunteer, whether it be hosting, coming, selling concessions, even some stage hands and moving furniture, it would be greatly appreciated. Currently, we are down to 2 staff members. Dylan, who has been a strong asset, has decided to go back to school to learn more about sound and theater. He's still being our part-time director for improv, but we've lost him as a staff member there every day. So if there are volunteers that you know, share them with Terry, or if there's anyone out there in the community that wants to give a hand for a great cause, please reach out and do so. That's
Okay.
it. Thank you.
Just quickly to the council, I would see the second request as something that the city management could discuss. I'm not sure that we need to, as a council, get too involved in that. That would be my personal response. And if there is a minor modification that comes back with October instead of September, if there would be a change from 1 contact to 2,
I don't think
we
that's
could
in our
deal with it there.
I don't think the one person is in our agreement.
Is that procedure? Then that's
Is it in there?
operations.
That's
one
just
person?
generally operations.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
we'll work with that. And just to comment on that, I mean, it's very difficult when you have one board member making financial decisions. You want to make sure that all board members are on the same page with that financial decision. So we'll work on that communication. We just, when we work with boards, not only just Gateway, but with a lot of board of directors, when they make financial decisions, we want to make sure that's the entire board that is supporting that one individual.
I
And
would
that's what's
think, though, if the board designates an individual, that individual
Give them that authority.
would have that authority, so I don't see that as a barrier. Anyway, I think that's, if it's not in the contract, that's a procedural thing and could be part of your discussion.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, we're now moving on to agenda item number 5.
4.
No, four, got lost here. The staff is requesting the city council approve resolution number 2023-17, adopting an official list of city-owned real property appropriate for use as affordable housing pursuant to Florida statute 166.0451, parentheses 1. Mr. Bapp, you will be presenting.
Yes, I'm Stephen Bapp, Growth Management Director for the City of DeBary. This is a recent requirement, statutory requirement, and states that cities across the state of Florida must publish a list of any of the properties they own that would be appropriate for affordable housing in accordance with the Florida statute you mentioned. To be appropriate, what does really appropriate means? Well, that's not defined. But if you look at the letter of the law, it would be a property that would be zoned industrial, commercial, or mixed use. Also, available, we look at availability as something that would be that's not encumbered by a use such as a park, stormwater project, a road, or something like that that the city owns, or something that's not pending sale or other encumbered legal documentation. So we looked at all the long list of city properties that we own. We looked at the current zoning of the property, its use, its land use, and other aspects of appropriateness. And we've determined that there are no properties that the city owns that would meet the criteria. Even though there are no properties that are owned, we're still required to publish a list. And the list would simply say the City of DeBary at this time has no properties that would be appropriate in accordance with Florida statute such and such.
Okay.
So, very simple. Staff recommends that the City Council adopts the resolution, and once it's adopted, we'll post that list on the city website so it's accessible by all members of the public.
City Clerk, do we have any public participation?
No, ma'am, we do not.
Okay.
He needs to read the.
Did you read the ordinance?
Read the ordinance, yes.
Resolution number 2023-17, a resolution of the City of DeBary, Florida, adopting an official list identifying city-owned real property deemed appropriate for use as affordable housing pursuant to Section 166.0451 Florida statutes and providing for severability, conflicts, and an effective date.
Thank you. Councilmember Sell, questions or comments?
No questions.
Councilmember Papalardo?
No questions.
Councilmember Stevenson?
No questions.
Vice Mayor Butlin?
No questions.
And I have no questions, so I would entertain a motion.
Move to approve Resolution 2023-17, adopting an official list of city-owned property appropriate for use for affordable housing pursuant to Florida statute 166.0451.
Second?
Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes.
Councilmember Sell?
Yes.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Butlin?
Yes.
And I am a yes. Agenda item 5, staff is requesting the City Council approve resolution number 2023-21 for establishing the determination for the respective maintenance responsibilities of the city and FDOT for the Integra and Town Park projects. City Attorney, would you read resolution number 2023-21?
Resolution number 2023-21, a resolution approving the City of DeBary's execution of 2 landscape construction and maintenance memorandums of agreement between the State of Florida Department of Transportation and City of DeBary for the Integra 289 and DeBary Town Park developments and providing for conflicts and an effective date.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, everyone. Richard Villaseñor, DeBary Senior Engineer. So this is in regards to the town park and the Integra developments. The city currently has a maintenance agreement with DOT for maintenance of the state roads, primarily 1792. There is some additional areas near I-4. It really only involves the areas between the right-of-ways, within the right-of-way. In this case, our TOD, or transit-oriented development area, requires the developments adjacent to these, within this TOD, to remove those standard 5-foot sidewalks and replace instead with a 12-foot multi-use trail. The other aspect of that trail is that it meanders in and out of that right-of-way. Because of that non-standard element for these pedestrian walkways is where it triggers these additional agreements. The Integra 289 in the DeBerry Town Park on the screen right now is the portion that would be affected by this agreement. For the Town Park project, this is the northern side of that project, and then also the southern. So it would expand the entire frontage of the project along 1792. On the Integra, it would be similar. The Integra is already built, so you can see that the existing sidewalk currently meanders in and out. So that is what this resolution will do, is it will just expand the agreement to cover these areas that go outside of the DOT right-of-way. There is no cost for these agreements, and therefore it is recommended that the City Council approve Resolution 2023-21 to establish the determination of the respective maintenance responsibilities of the city and DOT. These will be effective upon council adoption.
Thank you. City Clerk, do we have any public participation?
No, ma'am, we do not.
Okay. Councilmember Sell, questions or comments?
No questions.
Councilmember Papalardo?
No questions.
Councilmember Stevenson?
No questions, thank you.
Vice Mayor Butland?
I'm okay, thanks.
I have no additional questions, so I would entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve resolution number 2023-21 for the establishment of determining for the respective maintenance responsibilities of the city and FDOT for the Integra and Town Park projects.
Second?
Okay. Vice Mayor Butland?
Yes.
Councilmember Sell?
Yes.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes.
And I am a yes. Thank you very much. The next item on our agenda is number 6. The staff requests the City Council approve the vacant land contract to purchase 114 vacant platted lots owned by Richard D. Carlson, which is generally located, the lots are generally located south of the DeBerry Mansion.
And me again, Richard Villaseñor, DeBerry Senior Engineer. This is for the purpose of, in keeping with prior city efforts in protecting natural habitat. In this case, this particular property also serves as the receiving area for our central emergency pumping system, which discharges into this general area at the north end. This property then does discharge into the DeBerry Bayou. Also, this property is within the primary focus area for the septic to sewer transition. So it would also help with minimizing and limiting any additional on-site septic systems, also contributing to the Gemini Springs efforts. Much of the subject site is inundated in jurisdictional wetlands. There's a net upland area, non-contiguous, of about 5%, where it's higher properties. The site consists generally of 35 acres, including the platted right-of-ways through these areas. 97 of the lots are resource corridor zoned. 9 lots are split zoned between resource corridor and the residential R4, and 8 lots are fully R4 zoned. And again, it lies within the Gemini Springs primary focus area, the Basin Management Action Plan. This vacant land purchase is included in the fiscal year 23-24 stormwater budget. The cost of the vacant land will be $236,500. It is recommended that the City Council approve the vacant land contract to purchase 114 vacant platted lots owned by Richard D. Carlson, and the sale of the property is to close within 30 days.
Thank you. City Clerk, do we have any public participation?
No, ma'am, we do not.
Councilmember Sell, questions or comments?
No questions.
Councilmember Papalardo?
No questions.
Councilmember Stevenson?
No questions, but I did just want to comment how good this is going to be for our stormwater drainage and conservation. We knew this was coming up, and I know a few people that live in that area, and I kind of hinted that this was coming up as a possibility, and they were very pleased. So I fully support this.
Vice Mayor Butland?
Just one quick question. We just approved the properties that we'd own, which is 0 right now. Does this now go on that list? Is it, with all the different zonings that we have?
For affordable housing, no, because this is stormwater
No,
or
it-
conservation.
Well, it's zoned, it's not, well, we're buying it.
There are some residentially zoned
Right.
lots. There
There's
is.
mixed use there, and I just make
No,
sure.
Okay.
there's
Will this
no-
go on that list
There's no
of-
commercial, there's no industrial.
Right,
And
okay.
there's
I just-
Yeah, the
corridor.
Affordable Housing or local, Live Local Act is for commercial and industrial
Right.
properties, and so this
Yeah.
will not be.
No.
So none of this is part of that. Okay, that's what my
Yep.
question was.
Yep.
Thank you.
Just a quick question about the photo on the right. The light green band, is that some sort of right-of-way?
It actually
Is it like a utility easement or something?
Correct. It's a power transmission easement.
That was what I was guessing just from the coloration. Just a matter of curiosity when I was looking at it. No, I think this kind of strategic purchase, I'm not into the city running around and buying everything in sight. You know, that's not our strategy. But this kind of land with wetlands and other considerations, the priority focus area is one, but to me, the wetlands and the water management would carry the day even without that, in my view. So I
Mayor,
think.
just one more
Yes.
comment. I mean, this particular parcel here, and Mr. Villasenor can input as well. You know, the I-4 is ultimately on process to expand to 10 lanes. And right now, some of our drainage goes along I-4. And so strategically, this is an important piece for this particular area, if such that they would want us to move our drainage in our filtering areas. This is going to be a strategically important piece in this particular area to continue our western pumping system and our central pumping system. So it's a really strategic and a proactive approach to that particular expansion of I-4.
Thank you. If there's no further discussion, I would entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the vacant land contract to purchase 114 vacant platted lots owned by Richard D. Carlson, which is generally located south of the Berry Mansion.
Second.
Vice Mayor Butlin?
Yes.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Yes.
Councilmember Sell?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes.
And I am a yes. Agenda item number 7, the city manager is requesting the city council approve resolution number 2023-22 opposing the construction of the Belvedere Fuel Farm near Ormond Beach. Now, you may have read about this project and the controversy surrounding it. Hopefully, you have some familiarity with it. The bottom of this resolution says, basically, for the reasons above, we support the Volusia League of Cities and other efforts to find some other more appropriate site for this facility. So that is what the resolution is doing. It is a support resolution. It's the kind of support that I would hope that we would get if we ever have a situation where something is being permitted seemingly out of our control that is completely inappropriate from other jurisdictions. So while it is very distant from DeBary, it is a major concern for much of the county. It's a concern for the county itself, which owns the land. It's a concern for Ormond Beach, which would have to annex it in because of utilities. And because it has proceeded through a bureaucratic path to where it has some rights at this point. So I will allow the city manager is making the request and he can make some remarks, but I just wanted to say that it was something that was brought to me this week. The reason it was added to the agenda lately is because it's a very time-sensitive thing moving forward in many different forums. And so the request for our support was fairly prompt. So, City Manager?
Yes, Mayor, in this particular project, you can tell by the folks that are a little irritated with this particular project. There has been a whole lot of communication between the county and Ormond Beach. Transparency has been questioned, obviously. But they're working diligently to try to figure out if there's another location for this particular project, and so that it would not pose a risk not only to the neighborhood, et cetera. It's very close to an airport. And the airport does, as you can tell by the resolution, does have some instructor training flights and everything else that fly over this particular site. Obviously, with fuel tanks and everything else, you're concerned about leaks and everything else, would certainly provide an environmental issue if it's not properly maintained and et cetera, et cetera. And so there's just a whole lot of concerns for those particular areas, so much so that the surrounding communities want to support. Volusia League of Cities is leading this particular effort, and a lot of the cities are passing resolutions to support Ormond Beach to maybe find another location for this type of project, so that would not be a threat. Now, this property is zoned appropriately for this particular property, but I think everybody's trying to work on, let's find another location and see how it best fits in another location and be less of a threat to the neighborhood. And I think everybody's more on the focus of safety and environmental concerns, and that's what we're working on. So this is a collaborative effort with all the cities to try to help support and encourage the county to find another location to put this particular facility.
There is one aside that I would just make. This is appropriately zoned land that was sitting out there undeveloped, even as residential developments came right up to the border of the property. And it points out to me that there is a need for governments, whether it's a city government or county government, to be aware. I mean, those developments weren't built yesterday, but as we see the economy picking back up and there being more demands for facilities, and this one is part of a critical fuel network to make sure that Florida's fuel supply is protected. It has a good purpose. It's just that heavy industrial immediately up against residential, next to a sports complex, next to an airport, it would seem to me that it points out that jurisdictions need to be very aware of what's in their portfolio. And if there's a property that no longer in the future land use map should be heavy industrial, that it should be addressed way ahead of time. It's just a lesson for us, I think, as an aside, to be aware of the properties in our area and whether or not they are appropriate as the community has developed. I do think we've done a pretty good job in the last 4 years of keeping our antennas up and saying, let's do something different, like the property on Palm after we get a townhouse development proposals. I remember walking into Carmen's office and saying, it's wetlands. I don't want to ever see another proposal for a development there. It's in an appropriate place, whatever the reason was for zoning it commercial way back when. So anyway, to me, there's a lesson to be learned with this one as well. Councilmember Sell, questions or comments?
Means we're allowed to vote on this tonight. Yeah, I have a comment. I'm very disappointed in my cohorts who seem to have known about this long before it got to this point. I understand that pretty much all their ducks are in a row, and if they want to put it there, they can put it there. Mm-hmm. I do feel that sometimes if we yell loud enough, maybe they'll hear us, maybe they'll change their plans. I'm not sure at this time, though, from what I hear. Tonight, if I vote on this, it will be my voice that hopefully somebody else will hear and think twice. 30 years ago, I've played softball there. And this is putting a square peg in a round hole. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to put it there. I'm just disappointed that it got this far, and I feel horrible for the residents that live out there close to that. It's just not a great place.
So you would be supportive of us saying, can people work towards another location?
If I could stand in front of the dozer out there on that property, I would.
That's supportive, I got it. Councilmember Papalardo.
I'm glad that we can propose this statement, because municipalities, sometimes they're on their own, and we felt that a couple of times. And to have some backup would have been nice a few times. And I hope that we can set a precedent that our fellow municipalities within Volusia will have each other's back when we have challenging arrangements like this that seem to be almost unavoidable. But hopefully we meet resolution quickly.
Thank you. Councilmember Stevenson?
I definitely support this resolution opposing the construction. I've seen the debate online and all the issues coming up. And I hope that with our support, perhaps some of the powers that be will listen.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Butlin?
I don't really have any comments. I've heard this for a couple weeks now through my meetings with the League of Cities and stuff like that. So I helped them draft this, so I've read it several times. I'm very familiar with it, and I support us supporting them to not have it. So they're having, actually, Ormond Beach is meeting tonight to further discuss this at their council meeting. So
Yes.
we need to just, I mean, we have Duke and Florida Public Utilities and Florida Power and Light, and I hate for them to propose something that they wouldn't support us on if we didn't want it. So going forward, I think this is a good position for us to be in, to be able to support them.
Okay, I would entertain a motion if there's no further discussion.
Excuse me, Mayor.
Oh,
Can-
we didn't read
can
the
we get
resolution again.
And
Yes.
and for the record, there is no public comment.
Okay, thank you. I'm missing tonight, aren't I?
Resolution number 2023-2022, a resolution of the City Council of the City of DeBary, Volusia County, Florida, in opposition to the proposed construction of the Belvedere Fuel Farm near Ormond Beach in the unincorporated area of Volusia County at or about 874 Hall Road, Ormond Beach, Florida.
Okay,
Make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-22 opposing the construction of the Belvedere Fuel Farm near Ormond Beach.
Second.
Vice Mayor Butlin?
Yes.
Councilmember Stevenson?
Yes.
Councilmember Papalardo?
Yes.
Councilmember Sell?
Yes.
And I am a yes. This concludes our agenda items for the evening and moves us into member reports. Councilmember Sell, do you have anything to report?
None tonight.
Councilmember Papalardo?
No reports.
Councilmember Stevenson?
I'll pass tonight, thanks.
Vice Mayor Butlin?
Just real quick, I have attended the Florida League of Cities Committee meeting that I'm in Public Works, and just so I know, I said what was on the agenda, and we did discuss water quality and septic to sewer, so she was going to get more information for us at the October meeting, which we have already scheduled, so I'm hoping to bring back more resolution to what the grants and all that stuff is coming up with. Several people were very sorry that she didn't have it ready for this meeting. So they're working on that. I know we have someone in the audience who's concerned about septic to sewer, but the water quality is definitely on our agenda, and we're working on it. So also attended the Volusia League of Cities Board meeting, getting all that squared away with this. The round table, Carmen and the mayor for Volusia County, we had delegates there, and our round table for the electeds on Monday. I also want to say I'm proud of the staff for the budgeting they did. I think this is great. All the stuff that we're doing, the staff is wonderful. I was glad to see the hazard waste is coming. Da-da-da. So everyone's been asking about that. It is October 14th, so get that on your calendar. And I love the way the new air condition feels. Thank you. Feels good.
Just briefly, it seems like a long time ago, but since we last met, I did attend with some of the others on this dais the ribbon cutting for Luminous Salon. It was a nice addition to our business community and a wonderful owner-operator here in town. I did also meet with the seniors lunch meeting at the local Methodist church. They wanted to understand what's going on with Main Street, Alexander Island. They were quite engaged and very pleased with everything that I presented and that is going on in the city. So that was nice to see another positive environment to share what is going on and having people's attention, which was nice. I also was at the Volusia League of Cities Delegation Roundtable in South Daytona last week. It was an impressive showing by DeBary. They had asked for questions ahead of time to pose to the legislators that were there, and evidently DeBary was the only jurisdiction to submit. And so we had submitted 4 questions, and when anyone on the dais was saying now, I'll also address a couple of the questions received. Every single one was a DeBerry question. And there were also times for us to have comments where Carmen had some comments, I had some comments. So DeBerry was very well represented there. The vice mayor was there as well and got to visit with a lot of the people. And I did attend, as the vice mayor has said, the elected officials meeting on Monday, learned about beach replenishment, and we also had an opportunity to share with them some of the local concerns with the Live Local Act and how that may translate to property that we might have here in town. So that's the end of my report. City Manager, do you have anything to report?
Just a few things, Mayor. I do want to talk a little bit about the Volusia County water issue that happened on Sunday. I wanted to thank and just shout out to our communication department and our Public Works Department for just the communication they had for the DeBerry residents, just to, quite frankly, and I've had some discussions with the Volusia County Utilities Director. The communications out there with social media, next door, we put out, for those who don't have those, we put out electronic signs so that residents can see that there's a boiling, a boiling water act that needs to be, that was in place. But a lot of that was done on Sunday and Sunday evening, as soon as they came out. We all had responses on social media to make sure that everybody fully understood that. There are inherent communication issues with the utilities, and I think we showed Volusia County Utilities how communications should work out to residents, and even some recommendations on how they can improve their particular processes. So if you want to know the circumstance, they did have a power surge from, it appears, from Duke that certainly destroyed some of their electronic components that run the plant. And so it did take down the pressure, and it did shut down for about an hour. Their crew went out there. Kudos to the Volusia County Utilities. They ran and got it back up with an hour by using their generator. So they ran it through the generator until they can restore the electricity on site. And some of the electrical components that burnt out, relay switches and breakers and everything else. It's quite funny that some of the issues that they were having was some of the same of the issues we were having with Hurricane Ian in some of our electrical components. And so we are going to have a joint meeting with Volusia County Utilities, us, and Duke on seeing why these surges are occurring and why they are burning some of our electrical components, et cetera, in these power surges. And so we couldn't prove that there were power surges during Hurricane Ian that caused some of these outages and our breakers and relay switches to break. And so I think Duke is taking responsibility, and hopefully we'll get maybe some of this antiquated equipment improved over time. So a second, and again, thank you to the communication staff. They did a great job and are setting the benchmark of how government can communicate to its residents, and they were certainly, I can't tell you how many thank yous we got from the Volusia County Utilities Director on the communication for DeBerry, et cetera. Now, we still have, there's a current project that they were going to be working on. There are some homes that are going to be still on the boil alert because they are going to do some repairs on their system. And so they are going to do what they call a line break to repair it, and that's going to require a boil. And so they're going door to door and knocking on those doors for those particular residents that are still going to be under the boil alert for their particular water. But that was a project that's been planned for quite some time. So it's not a miscommunication by government or anything else. This is a project that they're going to be enacting, and they are going to break the line and repair it. And unfortunately, those residents that are affected will still be under no boiling, but it has nothing to do with.
But they're not interim now under no boil, are they?
No.
Okay, so they're freed from that one, and there will be a maintenance project.
Correct.
That will cause a new boil
alert,
for a small number or area?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
And so they're not related. And so
Okay.
we want to make sure that they fully understand that. Vice Mayor talked about the household hazardous waste. We haven't done that in a couple of years. One, because of Hurricane Ian and stuff like that. It canceled last year, October 14th, 8 to 12 at 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. at City Hall. Also, I do want to remind you that the groundbreaking ceremony for Main Street is November the 8th at 10 a.m. And we should have a very festive crowd there to really celebrate not only the property owners that all been involved, but dignitaries and developers and everybody else will be in attendance. So November 8th from 10 a.m. That's all I got, Mayor.
Is
Yes.
that a public community, everyone can come to that? How's that working?
Well, we made it invitation only, simply because of we're actually going to be doing.
Logistics, yeah.
Yeah, we're actually going to be doing it in the road, and it is going to be parking at the Sunrail station.
Yeah.
But it is during a time where a lot of parking spots are going to be eaten up at Sunrail, so really it's going to be invitation only, just simply because of logistics and how many people you can fit in the middle of the road.
Sure. Sounds good. City Attorney, anything to report?
City Attorney's Office has nothing to report this evening. Thank you.
Hearing nothing further, we stand adjourned.